Hello everyone, and welcome to Living Field, a podcast from Slade Farm Organics here in South Wales in the Vale of Glamorgan. I am Polly Davis, a farmer and nature enthusiast, and today we're diving into hedgerows, those wild, tangled, overlooked margins which are teeming with life. In this special episode, we're going to take you behind the scenes of our recent hedgerow survey. This was a project which was supported by the Agri-Food Network Stakeholder Flex Fund. We're going to hear from the public who joined us, and we're going to explore what we found out, and we're going to reflect on why hedges are so important. In May 2025, we ran 2 public biodiversity surveys on our organic farm. The idea was simple: open our hedges to the public, gather data, and explore the story of hedgerows together. Each walk took a couple of hours. We looked closely at 4 hedges, each with a different management history, some laid, some coppiced, some left more wild. Alongside us, families, local residents and curious minds, and those who hadn't stepped onto a working farm in years or ever, came along.
Right, so Morgan, thank you so much for coming. You came to both this one and last weekend, and obviously you know quite a lot about hedges, but what's your favourite bit? What made you come, and how do you think it went? Wow, a lot of questions.
I've come to both. I do love hedges, and I also love biodiversity recording. It's basically like Pokemon for adults, so I really, really enjoy it. And it's really nice getting to see, just average Joe blogs discovering different species and just, discovering that this goes here because it feeds on this and this does this and it's all kind of connected. Obviously citizen science is a really good way to go, and it's really lovely to actually just come onto a local farm and see what sort of biodiversity is there. They're quite, closed off kind of centres, I think, for most of the public, I suppose. So actually having it open and, the public coming and having a look and sort of discovering sort of what goes on, behind the shop and behind all the sort of things that we see is really, really good. On a professional basis, I do work with hedgerows as part of my role, but I love them, so it's really, really good. I just love getting out and about. And because I work with hedgerows more behind a desk, it's quite nice for me to actually get out and about, because I don't get a chance to do that enough really in my current jobs.
One of the joys of this project was quite simply the sheer abundance of life we found in the hedgerows here at Slade Farm. Over the course of the 2 sunny mornings, alongside the amazing, brilliant attendees, we surveyed 4 different hedgerows, each with its own character, history and hidden stories. So if we start with the first hedgerow, Hedgerow 1, this hedgerow ran between hay plus one field and hayfield. Very imaginative names, I'm sure you understand. And this was a bustling corridor of classic native species: blackthorn, elder, hawthorn and sycamore, all providing shelter and structure to the hedge. Underneath and around them, we spotted a tangle of brambles, docks, thistles and meadow buttercup. And it wasn't just the plants we saw. We saw a couple of brown hares and we heard skylarks, and we were lucky enough to glimpse a sparrowhawk patrolling the skies. Even the humble lords and lady plant, which is a really interesting wild plant, made an appearance. And it reminded us of the wild diversity that we have in the untethered corners on the farm. We were lucky enough to have Andrew with us, who is a bee enthusiast, when we were surveying this first hedge, and here's what he found out and enjoyed.
Right. Hi, Andrew. You are a really good expert on bees and have been on lots of our walks. So what made you decide to go on our walk today, and what's your favourite bit?
So I decided to come because it's a good way to get to look about the farm. There's always going to be something interesting to find.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing for me was the little nomad bees, the little cuckoo bees that nest in solitary bees. So it tells us that there are solitary bees around the hedge as well.
Yeah, that's really fun. What do they look like?
Most people would think they were wasps, small, flitting about, black and yellow abdomen.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, it's a bee.
Fab. Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
Moving on to hedgerow 2, this hedge bordered the field called Hay+1 and the wet field. And here we noticed a shift in species, an indication of the changing soils and moisture. This hedge gave us field maple, dogwood, cat-leafed cranebill, and various vetches scrambling through the undergrowth. We found field bindweed curling its way around the edges, and the frothy white heads of cow's parsley lining the margins. It was also in this hedge that we identified a number of lichens on some of the tree species. And here's what Rachel and Ingrid thought of those.
Hi guys, if you could introduce yourself and say what you enjoyed most about today, what made you come. I know you just said something really exciting about lichens, so Rachel, you go for that first.
Well, I don't normally have an interest in lichens, but we decided to start looking at some. And when you zoomed in on them, they were just amazing looking things. So it was so fascinating to see them like in real life.
You know, what were they, little yellow cups?
Little yellow cups all over the lichen when you zoomed in on the picture, which you couldn't see to the naked eye.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to say about the clean air?
Yeah, I was really excited because somebody very kindly brought an identification thingy, and we found 3 of the lichens of many on this one tree were identifiers of clean air. So I was really excited.
Very exciting. Thanks, guys.
Moving on to hedgerow 3, which was a particularly interesting one, as it was recently coppiced last year in 2024. This means it had had a regenerative cutback to encourage new growth, and the results were clear. Fresh growth of hazel and hawthorn mingled with creeping buttercup, cowslips and red campion. There were also ferns like hart's tongue and common dog violet nestled in the shade. The fungi fans were also delighted with this hedge too, as we found jelly ear mushrooms and on the decaying wood, and old puffballs along the base of the hedge.
Hi, thank you guys for coming. If you could just introduce yourself, say why you thought you'd come and what you got out to today, that would be great, and who you've got with you.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Who have I got with me? We got Nora and Thea, and they've joined us today as well.
Nora and Thea.
How old are you, Nora? Drinking juice. So she's 5 years old, and you're going to say your age?
7.
7.
Amazing.
So Thea's 7. And we had a really great time. It was a beautiful day, and we saw lots of new things. We found some jelly ears on the tree, some mushrooms or some fungi. And what was your favourite find today, Thea?
Devil turnips.
Nice.
The fossils. There were so many fossils. It was brilliant. Lots of new things. We found some dung beetles in the dung, and it was fab. And hopefully we'll be back for the next one.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Hedgerow 3 was also interesting because it had a ditch running adjacent to it, which means we managed to see some yellow damselflies darting through the nettles. And we also found a number of roses or field roses, which were very fun to see and would be probably easier to identify when they come into flower in a couple of weeks to a month. And finally, hedgerow 4. This hedge was laid in 2020 and shows good signs of maturing into a dense and rich boundary. Here we found field rose again, sycamore, meadowsweet, field bindweed, and nettles, and we saw honeysuckle, which was really lovely to see, even though it hadn't come out to flower yet. The invertebrates were also out in force, where we saw gall wasps on the brambles, and at the base of the hedge we also found dung beetles in some of the cowpats. Altogether, across the 4 hedgerows, we managed to document over 90 species of plant, dozens of invertebrates, and several birds, mammals and fungi. And perhaps most wonderfully, we had many shared discoveries, learning from each other and getting excited about having time to look.
Hi there, I'm John. I've come from the other side of Cowbridge. This is the first time we've done this with my son. And we learnt lots of new things about hedgerows that we didn't know before, and we found an ammonite, which was also great.
What's your favourite hedgerow bit that you think you've seen, that you can remember?
I like the red campion flowers and also the hazel.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I suppose this wasn't just a biodiversity survey. It was a chance to slow down, to notice and to value what we've already got here. Hedgerows are so often overlooked, and that they are amazing ecological lifelines. They're green corridors for insects, birds and mammals. According to CPRE, a countryside charity, the UK has lost over half its hedgerows since World War II. But here at Slade Farm, we are trying to restore ours through laying, coppicing and gentle grazing at the edges. From a personal perspective as the farmer, this farm walk was much more than just a species list. It is so much more about the people. It is great to get more people on the farm. For example, take Josella, who's been buying food from us for years, but never knew what was beyond the farm gate.
Hi, so my name's Josella and I wanted to come because, again, I've been buying food from Slade for a while and always been curious about the work going on around the farm, especially because it's so unusual in terms of farms. And it's been really nice to see the hedgerows. They're really well managed, everything's very luscious and green, and it's been really nice to find some more unusual plants and things that I haven't seen for a while, hear lots of birds, and it's just been a really nice peaceful way to spend the morning.
One of the quiet powers of a project like this is it has created a space for shared learning, not just top down, but side by side. Children, parents, nature experts and newcomers all paying attention and learning from each other.
Okay, so I'm Janine. I live in Wick, which is a local area.
Yeah.
Had a fabulous day. It was really nice. We saw lots of diversity in the hedges, both plants and animals.
Yeah.
I think my highlight would be, probably the skylarks.
Nice. And what made you come on this today? Have you done it before, or is this the first time for you?
I've done something similar when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get more involved with my local area and the upkeep of it with the things that are happening in the future and to make sure that it's preserved.
For any farmers out there looking for some tips to do this on your own farm, these are my 3 takeaways which I've learned from this experience. Number 1, have a whiteboard. We had this on the second day and it was really useful. Just the size of A1 or A2, so not that big. It was much easier to write down all the ID species on the whiteboard that we took with us. Also, invest in ID sheets. Amazingly, Morgan had loads, so we were very lucky to have ID sheets on both days. And also research the apps. It's useful to give people a good app for nature identification that they can download and use when they're on the walk. So what next? We'll be turning our data into a biodiversity snapshot from our farm, and we'll use it to improve how we manage our hedgerows, how often we cut and what species we need to protect, and how we can make more space for natural life. And we're not going to stop there. We'll be back for more walks and we'd love to see new faces. So if you see one advertised on social media and you're half interested, please come along. And that's exactly what Daria did. So we'll finish with a lovely quote from her and what she got out of it.
My name is Daria. I live in Bridgend. I brought my 3-year-old son, and we read about this tour online and were interested to learn more about the plants and biodiversity in our area, and usually don't have access to farms like this. So really enjoyed the tour, enjoyed bringing our little one and exposing him to the local biodiversity and some fossil life around. And thank you so much for offering this to us.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Living Field. And if you've enjoyed this journey into hedgerows, please share this episode and come along next time we open our farm gates. This project has been made possible by the Agri-Food Network Stakeholder Flex Fund. Till next time, thanks for listening. Goodbye.